Here this morning at Lewis County IDA with Economic Development Director Eric Verkler, and we're here today to talk a little bit about the Climax manufacturing building here in Lowville. And the IDA has been taking some steps and something they've been working on since January, but it looks like the purchase is closer to becoming in reality. Is that true, Eric?
Yes, and thanks very much, Nick. Yes, we are hopefully going to be able to move that transaction forward within the next few weeks. It has been a long road. I think, as you said, January. I think we actually even started probably back last November, December, and discussing with the real estate agent and the company that's selling the building, the acquisition. So it's been a long time and a number of challenges to get over, but we're pretty close.
And the parent company, the Delta Point Capital, which owns, kind of has a subsidiary that owns the building, they're kind of in bankruptcy proceedings with the Carthage Specialty Paperboard, and we understand some of the liens might have been removed from the property, and that's kind of opened up the door a little bit for the purchase to move forward.
Right. It's definitely a complicated situation. Carthage Specialty Paperboard was one company that's owned by Delta Point Capital. This building was owned by another company, a subsidiary of Delta Point Capital. So the solution at the end of the day is related to Carthage Specialty's bankruptcy, and what is happening through that bankruptcy process is this building is being transferred to Carthage Specialty Paper between the two corporate-owned companies. So it's being transferred to Carthage Specialty Paper, and then the liens are being removed as part of Carthage Specialty's bankruptcy process.
Okay. So the IDA here had a meeting on Thursday, and at that meeting the board did move forward a motion to approve the purchase of the building at a purchase price of $800,000, and that's for the entire 170,000 square foot building. Now, are there any stipulations tied to the purchase agreement? Are there, as far as leasing back space to them, are there going to be any kind of agreements like that are required to be able to get the building?
Right, and actually one note or clarification first. The IDA agreed to approve a purchase offer on the building back, as you said, I think in January or February. So the IDA board has been committed to this purchase for a long time. They did take final action last week to move forward with the transaction and authorize the purchase. As part of that purchase, and this again goes back to the beginning of these discussions and negotiations, Carthage Specialty Paper has been using the building. It's in essence their building. They've been using it for storage and warehousing and distribution for their operations, and they would want to continue that use. So our purchase does ensure that they're able to use 80,000 square feet of the building, and we have I believe it's a 2-year lease in place with them for them to use that facility for that period of time.
Okay. And then that'll immediately start generating some revenue back for the IDA as well.
It does, correct.
Okay. And what are some of the other plans that you guys are looking at as far as the building is concerned? Are you marketing to kind of like parcel it out in sections, or are you trying to get somebody to take over the main building as a whole?
We're really pretty open. I think our board has discussed those different types of possibilities. You know, if we had one company that came forward in the near future and wanted the remainder of the building, I think we would certainly be open to that. The key focus obviously is to try and create some jobs and some employment growth. So that's what we want to emphasize. But again, if it was one operation that needed the rest of the building, we would certainly consider that. I do think there is some concept that we would break it into smaller pieces. Multiple different businesses could use it. We really hope that there is some opportunity from local businesses that might want to expand, or somebody that might want to create a new business. There is one other business that actually started to use the facility back in about April, and with an agreement with Carthage Specialty Paper, so they are going to remain in there. It's a company by the name of NRG. They were located in New Bremen, and they moved into this facility earlier this year.
Perfect. What kind of timeline are you looking at as far as, like we've mentioned it a few times, that this has already been quite a process, and a complicated process at that. Now that things are starting to move forward a little bit, how soon would you expect to see ownership of the building?
The attorneys say we could close on it in the next couple of weeks, so we'll see if that happens. We're hopeful that it will, that it'll be very soon, and we're pretty focused from that point on and taking care of some immediate actions. Make sure it's everything that needs to be done to secure it for the winter. We're going to look at a little bit of roof work, anything else that we need to do to winterize it. It's the building's in pretty good condition, but it needs some things that will help make it energy efficient and not receive any other damage over the winter. Look at snow plowing and those types of things. Again, some things that will just need an immediate focus. Beyond that, again, we're really relatively open as to where we go next. We will much more actively market it. It's been somewhat marketed over the last year to two since Climax Manufacturing closed, but we will much more actively market it and see what other types of interest we can get to occupy it. There is a good amount of clean and ready to use, but in good condition office space. So we'll also see what type of interest we can get for that office space.
Has anybody been reaching out to you as far as been showing interest in the space? Or?
The space in general, yes. We've had a couple of companies that are interested in some way, shape, or form.
Okay. And my last question, you already started to touch on a little bit in your last answer, but as far as I'm assuming the IDA will be putting together some kind of budget as far as maintaining and running the building. You touched on one of the things was like snow plowing, things like that in the wintertime. So has that already been established here with the IDA, and what kind of maintenance and upkeep the building will need?
Yes, in essence, I mean, that was something we did early on as we were even looking to try and make this purchase. We did a pro forma analysis, given the best information we had. What does it take to maintain the building? What's it take to heat it, and electricity, etc. So we have that budget established. Until we really own it and start to incur those costs, we won't know how accurate our budget is, but we do have that developed. And with the potential revenue from tenants for the building, we believe it can be sustainable and create some great opportunities for businesses.
And do you ever see it getting back to the point where I think when it shut down in I believe it was April 1st of 2016, there was about 175, 180 employees there.
Right.
Can you ever see it getting back to that kind of workplace where you see that kind of employees in that location? That's
hard to say. Definitely that would be a goal, and to get much employment in the facility as we can. Total number, definitely hard to predict. I mean, it's a large building, so there's a lot of potential for different activity in there.
Well, Eric, it sounds like things are moving along really nicely on the Climax building purchase, and we really appreciate you taking a moment to speak with us today.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
You, Nick.
Yep.